Birds aren't evenly distributed across the landscape. The birds in your field guide can't all be found in the same location. Differences in seasonal temperature and rainfall determine what plants will grow in an area, a unique habitat. Each habitat has its own set of birds. In this video, we'll look at how bird communities change with habitat. I'll show an example of some birds found in western Oregon. We will travel from the lowlands of the Willamette Valley up and over the nearby Cascade Mountains. In a distance of 80 miles or so, the habitat makes three major changes. The bird communities change with each habitat. But first, let's look at these three habitats and the plants that make them up. Oak savanna. We start in the lowlands of western Oregon. It's only about 230 feet of elevation here, about 80 miles inland from the Pacific Ocean. Historically, this was a fire climax grassland, or oak savanna, but now it's agricultural and urban. It's where most of the people live. Streams and rivers are lined with alder, ash, and cottonwood trees. Groves of white oaks grow in abandoned pastures, but Douglas fir replace them over time if fire is suppressed. Grass seed field and sheep pastures predominate between small towns. The climate is mild. Summers are warm and dry. The rainy season lasts from October through May. Rainfall averages about 40 inches per year. Snow is rare, and when it does snow overnight, it rarely sticks around until noon. Temperate rainforest. As we move eastward into the foothills of the Cascades to over 1,000 feet of elevation, it becomes cooler and wetter. Historically, this was a region of tall, impenetrable forests. Giant trees are covered in moss and shrouded in fog. The forest floor is blanketed in ferns, salal, rhododendron, and fallen timber. Today, the landscape is a patchwork of clearcuts and second-growth timber, but there are some preserves of ancient woodlands. The dominant trees here are Douglas fir and western hemlock. Understory trees, and the first to colonize after a clearcut or burn, are bigleaf maple and red alder. Summers are short and mild. It's rainy or snowy depending upon elevation from September through June. Precipitation averages 75 inches per year. About 10 of those inches of precipitation account for 70 inches of snow annually. Most melts away quickly at lower elevations, but accumulates at higher elevations. Montane Spruce-Fir. Finally, in the mountains we reach the dense montane forests. Highway pass levels are 4,000 feet in elevation. It is here the ski resorts thrive. Volcanic peaks rise 8,000 to 10,000 feet, well above tree line. They harbor some alpine meadows. This area receives about 85 inches of precipitation per year. Over half is snow. That 45 inches of snow precipitation comes from 450 inches of snow annually. It melts and reaccumulates over the winter. Snow stays on the ground under shaded trees well into summer. There are small glaciers on some of the highest mountains. The typical conifer tree species of this habitat is Pacific silver fir, Engelmann spruce, and subalpine fir. Other trees include mountain hemlock and noble fir. Shrubs and ground cover are fairly sparse here, as they are covered for most of the year with snow. Expect vine maple, huckleberries, and ceanothus. Additional habitats. Once you crest the Cascades, you enter the rain shadow of the mountains. Descending the east slope of the Cascades, you quickly pass through lodgepole pine forests and montane mixed conifer forest, including the huge ponderosa pines. Then as you continue eastward, you enter the high desert with juniper woodlands and sagebrush flat habitats. But for this video, we're going to stick to the birds found in the three habitats on the west side of the Cascades: oak savanna, temperate rainforest, and montane spruce-fir. Each of these habitats tends to have a different set of birds, but it's not sharply delineated. Habitats merge slowly from one type to another. Likewise, so do the birds. Of course, many birds are found in more than one habitat, but you'll find, when this is the case, that a species usually prefers one habitat over another. It is much more abundant there. Okay, let's look at some example birds. Jays. California scrub jays are limited to oaks and residential areas of the Willamette Valley of western Oregon. As the name suggests, these jays are most abundant in the chaparral and scrub oaks of California. They reach the northern limit of their range in Oregon and Washington. As soon as the conifer forest closes in, the common jay switches to Steller's jay. These birds are abundant in the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest and to southeast Alaska, but they are also found widely in the forests of the Mountain West. In dark, old-growth forests and continuing high into the mountains is the home of the Canada jays. Usually shy and wary, they become the camp robbers of high mountain campgrounds. There they steal food from picnickers or tamely take handouts. Chickadees. The common backyard chickadee in western Oregon's oak savanna is the black-capped chickadee. They live in deciduous and mixed woods. They can be found following deciduous stream edges and clear cuts up into the foothills. You can find chestnut-backed chickadees in the lowlands in mixed deciduous conifer woods. However, they are definitely birds of the temperate rainforest habitat. That's where they are most abundant. Once you enter the western hemlock forest, these tiny birds are never absent. You've got to go all the way up to the Montane Spruce-Fir forest of the Cascade summit to find mountain chickadees. These are even more common eastward in the lodgepole pine habitat and drier ponderosa pine forests. Finches. House finches are backyard birds across the United States. They are the abundant finch of lower open country across Oregon, but not in the forest. Thus, these are the expected red finch in oak savanna of the Willamette Valley. As soon as you find mixed woods, though, you add purple finches. These are the expected finches in the temperate rainforest habitat. Look for them in big-leaf maples and Douglas fir, especially at the edge of clearcuts. At the summit of the Cascades, in the Montane Spruce-Fir forests, you can begin to find Cassin's finches. These are even more common in the drier ponderosa pine forests eastward into mountains of the west. There is a fairly strong line of demarcation between purple finches west of the Cascade summit and Cassin's finches east of the summit. The area of overlap is very small. Warblers. The jays, chickadees, and finches are year-round residents here, but migrants that winter in the tropics come here to nest in the summer. These summering birds also separate by habitat. In the lower oaks and big-leaf maples, you will find black-throated gray warblers. They occur in mixed woods and up into the lower foothill clearcuts. As soon as the rainforest becomes primarily conifers, though, hermit warblers replace black-throated gray warblers. Look for these birds high in the canopy. In this forest, that is very high. In the high Montane Spruce-Fir forest habitat at the Cascade summit, look for breeding Townsend's warblers. These occur into the lodgepole pine habitat too. These aren't the only birds that show such marked differences between three adjacent habitats, but they make good examples. We could also look at flycatchers, thrushes, woodpeckers, and others. In fact, in future videos, I plan to look more closely at entire bird communities within a specific habitat. And there are over 35 habitats in North America to examine, each with their own set of unique birds. Visit different habitats, even in a nearby area, and see different birds. Check out the link in the description to the book Habitats of the World, a field guide for birders, naturalists, and ecologists. Thank you for watching.